r/ask Reddit. What is a record, sports or otherwise, that will likely never be broken? The Lion King has the highest VHS sales of all time. On a similar note, Smash by The Offspring is the highest selling independent album of all time. Didn't it go platinum on cassette? Hans Zayer's DNQ, DNF and DSQ in one F1 race, open bracket, did not qualify, did not finish and disqualified. He did not qualify because he was too slow. Started anyway by sneaking his car in. Only when his gearbox failed after 10 laps was it realized that Zayar should not have been competing, whereupon he was disqualified. I love the idea of sneaking a car onto an F1 track. PK/act like you belong. John Isner hit 113 aces in his 70-68 match at Wimbledon, played over 3 days. That record will never be broken because Wimbledon changed their rules so they can't play that many games ever again. The Guardian's game-by-game report of that game remains the pinnacle of live sports reporting, just slowly losing their damned mind over the course of 3 days. It was the first match the BBC commentator had worked on as well. Not a bad start. Wade Boggs drank 64 beers on a domestic flight. R.I.P. Wade Boggs. Wade Boggs is very much alive. Wade Boggs would be rolling in his grave if he could read your comment right now. Cy Young pitched 749 complete games in his career. The current active pitcher with the most complete games in his career is Adam Wainwright, who has pitched for 17 years and has 27 complete games total. Pitchers just don't pitch the whole game anymore, and Young's record will never come close to being touched. Edit. To put Young's record in further perspective relative to modern day pitchers, I looked up career complete game stats for all current MLB pitchers, and there are 124 pitchers total who have at least one complete game in their career, for a total of 505, collectively 244 less than Cy Young alone pitched in his career. His total of 500 plus wins is equally untouchable. How about 315 losses? That's about 10 years of a current pitcher going each entire season without recording a single win. If you had a 20-year career, you'd still have to lose 16 games a year, every year. No team would put up with that. Aleksandr Karelin, Greco-Roman wrestler, 887 wins to 2 losses, entered 9 world championships and never lost a bout in them. Imagine being one of the 2 guys who gets to say he beat him though. You definitely don't fight him again after that. Glenn Hall played 502 consecutive games as an NHL goalie. Zero chance that will ever be broken. Goalies these days rarely play more than 3/4 of an 82 game season, let alone numerous seasons without a night off. Also, Georges Vezina's 15 seasons straight off starts. More seasons than Hall but shorter seasons, so Hall holds GP, only ending when he was literally dying. They forced him to leave when he was coughing blood at intermission. He was diagnosed with TB and he died months later. Okay, yeah, I guess the guy deserves a trophy named after him. The longest professional tennis match of all time, John Isner vs Nicolas Mahut at Wimbledon 2010. It lasted 11 hours 5 minutes, spanning 3 days of play, with a final score of 6-4, 3-6, 6-7, 7-6, 70-68. It was already nearly twice as long as the previous record holder. The reason it will likely never be broken is that every professional tournament except for one, Roland Garros, now has tiebreaker rules that limit the number of games that can be played in final sets. Although it's hypothetically possible at RG, clay court tennis is not at all conducive to the serve and volley style of play that led to the insanely long 5th set of Isner Mahut. I was in high school at the time, and Wimbledon happens in July, so I was able to watch the whole thing. I played tennis and was interested in American players, so I literally watched every point live. Incredible experience. Also, RG instituted a 5th set tiebreak mechanic this year. It's a 10-point super break. Roland Garros has a tiebreaker too now. All 4 Grand Slams now use a first to 10 points tiebreaker once it reaches 6-6 in the final set. Starting from RG this year. Edit. I believe you still need to win by at least 2 points like in tiebreakers in any other set, which is still first to 7, with 2-point gap. Wayne Gretzky's career points. The Gretzky brothers hold the record for the most combined career points for a pair of siblings. Brent Gretzky has 4 career points. Wayne has 2,857. The 6 Sutter brothers have 2,936 points combined, and the pair that is the closest to the Gretzkys are the Sedins that recently hit the 2,107 mark, while the Stastny trio earned 2,169 points. Wayne Gretzky is called the Great One for a reason. There has never been or ever will be a better hockey player, and it's not even close. In fact, the second player in career points is Jaromir Jagr with 1921 points. For those that aren't aware, the points stats in hockey is a combination of goals scored and assists. Gretzky had 894 career goals and 1963 assists. If you took away every goal he ever scored himself, he would still hold the record for most points. The current record for the Cannonball Run, a drive from NY to LA, is about 5 hours. It was set in May of 2020, and the drivers were able to make use of the lack of traffic due to the pandemic to break the record. Barring another similar world-changing event, traffic conditions will probably never be what they were when that record was set. Toman claims that they were able to leave Manhattan in just 4.5 minutes. That's pretty impressive. That part will probably never be broken, right? I mean, how the duck? The Voyager golden record is now in deep space and is extremely unlikely to ever come across anything which could break it before the end of humanity. Voyager, in case it's ever encountered by extraterrestrials, is carrying photos of life on Earth, greetings in 55 languages, and a collection of music from Gregorian chants to Chuck Berry, including Dark Was the Night, Cold Was the Ground by 20s bluesman Blind Willie Johnson, whose stepmother blinded him when he was 7 by throwing lye in his eyes after his father had beat her for being with another man. He died, penniless, of pneumonia after sleeping bundled in wet newspapers in the ruins of his house that burned down. But his music just left the solar system. Josh Lyman. Damn. Just damn. Such a rough life. And such an amazing achievement. And without ever knowing, I can see how people might find this story mostly tragic. But for me it helps remind me that if I choose to do what feels meaningful and positive and true to me, even if I never directly see or feel like I accomplished much, I almost definitely did make a positive impact on the world. Oh, I know this one. When I was a kid, we had a Guinness Book of Records lying around that we liked to browse in while bored. There was this one guy in it who held a record for most bikes eaten. No, you did read that right. He ground up a bike and slowly consumed it over I don't know how long a time. The record was accompanied by a note that no further records of bike eating would be accepted, as it was deemed too dangerous. The Guinness Book of World Records stopped allowing most types of records, if I recall. Basically anything that wasn't a particular featuring a skill and that was just a stupid number of repetitions for a specific useless thing. Open bracket, X. Most amount of hot dogs balanced on the nose in 1 minute. Also anything overly dangerous that isn't dangerous because of the athleticism. Open bracket. Longest motorcycle jump is okay, but number of live fireworks I can fit in my mouth isn't. When you pick up an 2000's Guinness Book of World Records, you realize it really was their bread and butter. The amount of utterly useless and easily beatable records that existed just because someone went, I will try to balance 5 hot dogs on my nose in under a minute. Who ducking cares? The Guinness Book also used to have records for fire eating and sword swallowing, both of which they discontinued for safety reasons. Surprise, no one mentioned the unlimited water speed record. The current unlimited record is 511 kilometers per hour, 59 miles per hour, achieved by Australian Ken Warby in the spirit of Australia in 1978. It hasn't been broken to this day due to how dangerous it is to go at those sort of speeds on the surface, and plenty of people have passed away trying. Here's the wiki article for the boat, which is kinda interesting. I don't know that passed away applies if you die in a rocket boat accident. It's a bit more hurtled into the afterlife than passing away. Max Verstappen being the youngest F1 driver to hit the grid, at age 17. He is the reason why there's now a minimum age requirement for F1 and their license. He's on his 7th season already and is one of the more experienced F1 drivers, so I always think that he's around 30 years old, but he's just 24. For comparison, Lewis Hamilton was 22 when he started in F1. To add to this, he will also probably stay the youngest driver to win a Formula 1 Grand Prix, being only 18 years and 228 days old when he won the 2016 Spanish Grand Prix. Rickey Henderson's all-time stolen base record, the number 2 guy on the list, Lou Brock, only has about 2/3 as many stolen bases as Henderson, 1,406 versus 938. Not only that, but the active leader, D. Gordon, is 1,000 shy of Henderson. A player could play 20 years and steal 40 bases every season and learn not even half of Henderson's steals. Especially taking into account today's cautious base running meta, it's going to be a long time. His single season mark of 130 is not likely to be broken either. He averaged nearly a steal a game, which is nuts. I once ran a sub 7-minute mile, and seeing how I do not run anymore, I will never break that record of mine. If a bear chases me, I will lay down and accept my fate. The army ruined running for me. If you ran 3 miles a day every day for 3 months, I bet you'd beat that record. Dude, he can't run anymore. Not after the accident with the bear. Ronnie O'Sullivan's quickest maximum 147 break. Sometimes the stars align and allow records to be broken, but this was a case of Ronnie nudging all the stars to exactly where he wanted them to be. The amount of things that would need to happen for it to be quicker is madness. You'd need a quick player, a quick referee, a relatively open easy table. Wilt Chamberlain's MPG record, 48.5 MPG, while playing every single game. Players in today's league don't even reach 40. That's minutes per game for those wondering, like I was. Thanks, I was like, what the hell does basketball have to do with miles per gallon? Jake Villeneuve, Michael Schumacher and Heinz-Harald Frentzen set the exact same time in qualifying in the 1997 European Grand Prix, to the thousandth of a second. Cal Ripken's consecutive games played. It's 632 games for those wondering. Lou Gehrig is second with 130. There are 162 games in a regular season, not including playoffs. Putting aside Lou Gehrig for a moment, the number 3 and number 4 longest streaks combined still fall short of Ripken. 5th longest streak, Tejada, could double his number and be short of Ripken. Even Lou Gehrig would have needed to play another 5 years straight to match Ripken. Also, Ripken only ever played for one team in his entire career, the Baltimore Orioles, 21 seasons. That is a rarity in itself. Queen Elizabeth II being the longest reigning UK monarch. With anti-aging research progressing like it is, who knows? 2431. His Royal Majesty, William V, celebrates his Mendelevian Jubilee on his 250th year of reign. Accompanied by his family, he graciously received delegates from the British colonies in Alpha Centauri and Sirius, and called for a valiant resistance against the Betelgeusian insectoid, super-intelligent pox monkey alliance that threatens the UK. I submit Rafael Nadal's Roland Garros wins, once he hangs it up, that is. To be fair, Rafa faced scrubs like 20 slam winner Roger Federer and 20 slam winner Novak Djokovic. Wait, thinking face. They should just rename it to the Rafael Nadal Open. For the past 18 years it's been pretty much to see if anyone can beat him, like a final boss in a video game. Roger Federer reached the semi-finals of 23 consecutive Grand Slam tournaments. The man holds many records, but this one is probably the most significant, because it's the best indication of his regularity at the highest level. Reaching the quarterfinals of 58 Grand Slams is nothing to sneeze at, either. Edit. 58 is the total. He went to 36 quarterfinals consecutively. Still awesome. Federer at his height was just ridiculous. He could beat you any way you wanted to play, unless you were Nadal on clay. I remember him saying in a BBC interview, "I'm really mentally strong right now, and I don't see anyone beating me." He then went on the biggest winning streak tennis has ever seen, and the plays he was making were just so far above what any other player, Nadal or otherwise, were doing that he just seemed to be invincible. Like crowds were gasping as his returns like they defied the laws of physics or he was bending the continuum to his will. I don't think we'll ever see a player with a game as complete as he had. Don Bradman's career average of 99.94. Statistically, this one will be impossible to beat. Cricketers will come and cricketers will go, but breaking 99.94 will be impossible. Rogerio Ceni's record as the football goalkeeper with the most goals scored, 131 goals through his career, more than double of Chilevat's previous record. In 2005 he was the top scorer for Sao Paulo in a season they won the Copa Libertadores in the World Club Championship. Secretariat's Belmont record. For those who've never seen it, one of the greatest moments in sports history. I always feel for Sham. If he'd been sired any other year he would have been a super horse in his own right. Upon their deaths they discovered that both Secretariat and Sham had the famous X-Factor heart gene passed down through Eclipse's line. Sham's heart weighed 18 pounds. Secretariat's weighed 22. The average thoroughbred's heart weighs 5 pounds. https://yauto BVFCMTA NIMDM. Secretariat's jockey, Ronnie Turcotte, said he always felt bad for Sham because the rider had to whip the crap out of him to try and keep up with Secretariat and it was never enough. Real answer, javelin throw of 104, 80 meters set by Ove Hone. Someone else commented a 98-meter javelin throw is unbeatable. I'm so confused. After Hone achieved such a long throw, the design, I think weight, of the javelin was altered to make it harder to throw as far. Mainly because at over 100 meters it is difficult to fit the javelin event into a standard athletics stadium. Jerry Rice's reception record in the NFL, 549, is crazy. Career receiving yards leaders after 40 yo Jerry Rice, 2,509 ids. Tom Brady, 6 ids. Everyone else, 0 ids. Brett Favre, -2 ids. This is an incredible stat, haha, thank you. Tiger's Woods 142 consecutive cuts made. Didn't miss a cut between 1998 and 2005. Also 281 straight weeks ranked number 1 in the world. Richard Petty's 200 cup wins. Beat me to it. No NASCAR driver will ever meet that. And if they do, they're gonna kill every fan base except their own, as no one else will want to watch it. Also, with standardized cars instead of home-built machines, it's harder to get an advantage. Luigi Fagioli won the 1951 French Grand Prix at the age of 53 years, 22 days, making him the oldest F1 winner in history, given that F1 drivers rarely continue driving past 40 anymore. This record looks pretty safe. The Super Mario Bros. Speedrun record is currently below 4:55, and it is seen to possibly be the final second break in the game, I think. Depends on what you define as the Super Mario Bros. Speedrun. Runs have historically always been done on the US Japan NTSC version of the game, but the European PAL version of the game can actually be taken down to a 4:52 and people have segmented a run this fast. The issue is that the tricks required have an unbelievably high degree of variance plus destroy your hands very quickly, so it is very unlikely, although not impossible, that someone gets a time this fast. However, this is an official release of the NES game, so would be the fastest completion of Super Mario Bros. The SNES remake of the game can also be beaten in 4:53, and I've done all of the tricks required for that in individual level segments, and this run would be much easier than a sub 4:54 PAL run. But because it's a remake of the game, it likely wouldn't count as an improved record when compared to the original NES version. The record can also still be beaten on the NTSC version, just not by whole second intervals. There have already been 3 world records in under 4 minutes and 55 seconds. Joe DiMaggio's consecutive hit streak Ichiro's 262 hits in a season. Kim Jong-un's 19 hole-in-ones in a single round of golf. Michael Phelps' Olympic medals. I can't imagine another swimmer earning more medals. Katie Ledecky maybe. She already has 7 golds and 10 overall Olympic medals and she is only 25. Brett Favre's consecutive starts. No way that gets broken with concussion protocols. More so than that, I don't think his interception total will ever be broken. The more analytical the NFL becomes, The less QBs are allowed to get away with throwing a lot of picks. Anyone throwing interceptions at the rate Favre did would be benched today, added on with his impressive number of games played. He has 336 and the closest active player is Tom Brady with 203, followed by Matt Ryan at 170. Brady already fake retired this year, and unless he's playing through his late 50s he's not going to get close to it. Ryan is a few years from retirement. https://www.football.com leaders career passing interceptions. Favre's interception total is the funny one. It weirdly says everything you need to know about him as a player. Dude was never afraid of failure and took risks, but he was so damn good that he could be allowed to throw that many picks in the first place without losing his job. Messi 91 goals in a year. The man who survived over 400 days lost at sea. Wayne Gretzky's career and season point totals. No one will get close to either. He has more assists than the second place player has in total points and a roughly 900 point lead on second place. The two active players who are closest to him are both close to the end of their careers. Alex Ovechkin and Sidney Crosby, and are 1,400 points away from tying him. Both are on 1,410 points. Single season. Gretzky had 4 seasons over 200 points. This season, one of the highest scoring since the 1990s. The point leader had 120 points. There is a reason that he's called the Great One. Dong Night Train Lane's 14 interception season back in 1952. His rookie season in the NFL. The passing game is too advanced these days. Any DB that gets above 8 is not getting thrown at for the rest of the season. If he's really good, and the coaching staff is willing to let him have freedom to move around the field, he may be able to get 2 more. Never mind the fact that interceptions are fairly random anyway. It was a one-time fluke back when people were still figuring out forward passing. Won't ever see it again. Even if it does fall eventually with some crazy outlier year, it'll happen in a 17-game season. Night Train did it in 12 games. Back when people were still figuring out forward passing, also back when they allowed you to just grab a receiver by the neck and throw his ass down. Which Lane was also amazing at. Ronald Reagan winning 49 states and 525 electoral votes in 1984. Highest score in a college football game. In 1916 Georgia Tech defeated Cumberland with a score of 222-0 as payback for Cumberland cheating in baseball. This simply cannot ever happen again for a number of reasons. No team is bad enough to have that many points run up on them in the allotted time. There is an unwritten but very strict rule that putting triple digits on an opposing team is extremely poor form. It would not be seen as a triumph but as a cruel excess by fans and the media. A team that even wanted to attempt this would be putting their players at unnecessary risk of injury. Manny Pacquiao 8-division world champion. Seems impossible nowadays for people to grow into the sport like he did. A lot of the new era stars focus on 1-3 weight classes that they will do good on for the rest of their careers. Manny really started to box professionally at 16 years old and about 98 pounds because he really had to duck and do it to make money and survive. John Stockton's assist record. German fighter pilot Erich Hartmann. 352 confirmed air-to-air kills, highly unlikely to be broken due to the changing nature of warfare and the vastly lower numbers of aircraft modern air forces field. 352 aircraft is in fact more than many air forces nowadays field overall. Fernando Tatis 2 Grand Slams in the same inning. It has a very outside chance of being tied, but will never be broken. Probably Tom Brady's postseason wins and Super Bowl appearances. He is roughly double the next highest person in most of these metrics. The most no-hitters thrown in a MLB career. Open bracket. Nolan Ryan with 7. Also Nolan Ryan's strikeout record. 714. He really is one of the most incredible pitchers in MLB history. FDR being elected US president 4 times. Number of dinosaurs killed by a single meteor. The record has stood for nearly 66 million years and is unlikely to ever be broken. Michael Schumacher's making it to the podium every race in a season. Alberto Ascari and Jim Clark scoring every point available in a season. Ayrton Senna has 8 consecutive pole positions in a row in F1. Despite the dominance of Lewis Hamilton in the past 7 years, consistent peak performance like that was never achieved. Jerry Rice's TD record. I've seen others mention his receptions record or yardage, and with more games, those will probably come down eventually, but the TD thing, hell, they're harder to get, and someone would have to average slightly more than 10 TDs a season for 20 seasons, or 13 for 15 seasons, or 20 for 10, etc. Given that 10 seasons is a pretty long career now for a WR or RB, I just don't see it. You have to stay mostly injury free and insanely productive basically your whole career. Junior was an alien. I don't see anyone replicating that. A bit late to the party, but German U-boat captain Arnaud de la Perrière sank 194 ships totaling 450,000 tons in World War I. That record will never be broken, as there will never again be a naval war which so heavily favors submarines as World War I. Edit. It's the 194 ships that is the record, unlikely to be broken, not the tonnage. Sorry if I distracted from the main point. I like facts. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.